Hi YouTube, we're back with another Feedback Friday. We're going to start with Lotta this week, who has finished his work. I probably won't be speaking a whole lot on it, because mostly just reviewing the things that he did already, like the changes he made. Really like the warm cold now, looks very good. So that's nice. This is pretty cool. Like that. The wood handle's quite good. It's got some natural shape to it, to the wood grain. Somebody looked at reference, which is nice. Let's quickly look at this. Okay. All right, so a couple things I see that I would point out. One thing would be I would try and paint some of the line work thinner on the stones. Just make them a little, it's going to be hard to show, but like just trying to paint a bit thinner here, make it a little sharper. Your edge work is a little soft. Also try and think about like instead of just trying to paint the edge, try and think about like the planes of these. So like maybe this plane just gets more light. Maybe this plane, this one. You can get a sharper result here through working with the planes a little more. And then next thing, let's take and grab something like this, slightly darker. Okay, something along these lines. And then the other thing I see is if we look here at like some of the gray of his beard, we get some of these nice warmer colors. I would like to see some of these like in the stone. I saw you did a bit on the one side, but I'm not getting quite enough of it on the like front view. So trying to push some of this effect more onto the crown here. Even on this one though, it's like the face is blocking the light here, but the face isn't really blocking the light from hitting this crown that's coming out, right? So this spike. So we should have some of this appearing on this guy. So getting a little bit of that warm light wrapping around, just like you did down here, right? So a little bit of that warm light. This could probably also be a little warmer. And then, yeah, you could also have it, even though this is like up at the top, right? This is still gonna catch light, so we should have some of that warmth like on this thing, on his like staff thing too. It's like it doesn't, just because it's off to the left, like it's a separate volume, right? Some people lose track of this idea that like everything on this side needs to be cool and everything on this side needs to be warm. But just because this thing is off to this side doesn't mean that it doesn't have like its own volume to it, right? So some of the light will catch on. You have to think of this as like a separate volume, so the right side of this thing needs to have some warm light on it. However, that may be done, but we work a little bit of warmth into that thing too. Makes sense. Hope so. Very cool. Maybe you push a couple little highlights here and there a little bit more. I like the belt, works very well. But nice. Okay. Hi, Eric. Hi, Devin. How are you? Okay, Z. Hi, Eric. Long time no posting. I'm working on a diorama and I'm about 85% done with one of the dwarves. So it'd be a great if you could give me some feedback on how it's working in the whole piece, but particularly on the mini. Okay. Ooh, this is good, dude. Z. This feels like a level up for Z. I am impressed. I love a good level up piece, you know? You see somebody working on something and you're like, yeah, this is good. All right. Yeah, I mean, I like the colors. I like what's going on here. Light is pretty good. If I had to point something out at the moment, it is going to be this. Right now, the light on the dwarf that is painted, this often comes from maybe not checking it enough with like the figure on the base, but the lighting on the dwarf right now is he's a bit shadowed on the right side, which means he was likely painted off the scene and painted more like this, right? Maybe not quite at this angle, but something like this, right? So you were probably painting him and holding him at this position quite a bit, which has forced some shadows onto his right side. Now, this isn't a problem, but we need to be aware that when you go to do the other dwarf, right, we need to make sure that the shadows of the other dwarf match this sort of shadow on the right, you know? So don't lose the light direction when you go to paint the other figure. Okay? This can quickly, yeah, you could end up, if you painted him, looking at him straight on, and then you go to paint this guy looking at him straight on, or more straight on than what he's at right now. You can end up where you have a light source that's like, he's slightly from the top right, and then he's slightly from the top left, and then he's slightly from the top right, and you've got two figures where you have like these separate light sources. Okay, so that is the big thing, just to keep aware, like just be aware of that. All right. As far as the painting itself, it's quite good. I like the freehand's pretty cool. I like the skin colors and everything look really nice. Base is looking pretty good. I am a little concerned about a couple spots. One spot that particularly concerns me is, let me turn this back on, is this guy. He is very purple and saturated, and is going to want to pull attention. So just be aware that like this could imbalance quite a bit the piece. You might want to consider adding some purple up here, or maybe an element up here somewhere that helps balance these two out. Whether it's like purple flowers or something that can help to, yeah, create some balance. Maybe something here and then something like over here. So you have this sort of triangle that holds the figures in. That could work pretty well. So let me just grab like a purplish tone, something, I don't know, like this. Right, so what we're going to do real quick is just like create some, I don't know, some purple foliage, whether it's like leaves, flowers, leaves. There's like these purplish leaves that you can find. I don't know if they're not ferns, but they're like, yeah, a forest plant that has this sort of purple color. So yeah, I think this might, you could hopefully see, and if I push the light a little bit more here, yeah, like this, right, between this and this, you should see that like it helps to balance the composition a little better. Okay. The other thing is like I like these purpley tones you have like in here, like this. You can try and like maybe changing his ring to purple or something can help also like balance this stuff out a little bit more. But in general, quite nice. Now, the wood's awesome. I don't have that much to say about the dwarf, to be honest. Like the painting on the dwarf. I'll take another look at one of the other pictures. One thing here is I don't love this highlight placement because this is sort of the main view here. I would like to see more of a highlight sort of in this position where you have this secondary highlight. I think it could balance this a little better. So like more of this front of the spear is a bit more in light, like this catches this main reflection. So you have sort of the main reflection here, and then you have another main reflection there. And then I would actually tone down this back side just a touch. it's a small change, but it makes the reflection a little more consistent. Like you could see there, like what it does to the spear. Definitely feels, I think, more correct in placement with the light there. Okay. Hi, Katarina. Hello, you can call me Plant. Hi, Plant. And Matt Cap, hi. Black Aura Granddad, hello. Hi, Roxana, hi. Tay, hello, everyone. Sorbin, hi. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. I would maybe consider, if you find like that he's disappearing a little bit into the background, you might want to push the general midtone of the green just like a bit higher in value so that it doesn't get quite so lost. I like the dark green is pretty cool, but it can get a little lost in the background. I mean, I know you have a tendency to paint a little dark anyways, so yeah, you might want to push the light here just a bit. Just a little more overall higher value on this green. Help him stand out a little bit more against the background. And you can see that like just pushing that light a little bit helps frame him a little better against the backdrop. And yes, the light you are correct, Rosanna. The light direction on the base is not perfect, but like this is fixable through some airbrushing. So like once he's got it really well established, you can come in with a filter through the airbrush and kind of we can take like a dark yellowish green like this, and then it's like using an airbrush kind of like softly spray from like the bottom right to create some shadow on this right side in order to like reinforce the light direction a little bit more. I don't think it's like way off, but it could be slightly better. And then using a airbrush here, like an airbrush layer, we can create some like vignetting towards the bottom of the base where this is kind of like less important. And that should sort of reinforce the light direction and make them stand out a little better. But yeah, it's really good, man. It's cool. Cool stuff. Feral Painter, hello. So, and maybe not even that much, just like a little bit. And then, yeah, adding these adjustments. Okay. Work in progress. Feedback hugely appreciated. I hope you enjoyed Golden Demon this year. Amazing standard. Thanks. Ooh, this is very overexposed, I think. Yeah, all right, that is like way overexposed. But anyways, okay. pretty decent, like not bad. There's a thing you're doing. Like I like some of the face volumes and stuff are pretty good. But when it comes to details, you kind of forget about like volume. So what I mean by that is like the beard, right? Like wrong brush. The beard, this thing, right? The scrolls on the back, even sort of the arm, right? They don't really have the volume interpretation. So, like, this is all just sort of flat with some edge highlights, right? What we want to do is you need to be thinking of these things with the shapes in mind also. So let's make an add layer. Just use like a creamy white sort of thing. Like this scroll work needs to have form to it, okay? Technically the map does too, but the map's pretty flat. So yeah, like try and create some shape to the scroll work, right? Try and create shape to the beard. Like people often oversimplify, like you get trapped in this idea of like painting the texture on the beard, but then you lose the fact that like you need to have like these are forms with texture on them, and we need to have some form and shape to these things, okay? So and then you can come back with multiply, and the color is not super important. We'll just use like a dark color. Then we need to start creating some shadows on these lower planes here, okay? I'm getting a lot of like natural shadow from the photograph right now because of the harsh lighting, and not really from the painting. So yeah, you have to interpret all the volumes, not just the ones on the face. And then you need dark lining, so dark lining important, right? Gotta make sure we like separate all these elements out. Separate these elements. Create detail. Like, I don't know what's going on in here with his hat, but there's just nothing separating these. So like I can see where you kind of painted the dark line there, but it's a little thick. Okay. What? Do you paint the texture, then tint, or is that not possible? You can through thin layer. Are you talking about on the paper? You can paint the texture first as like an underpainting and then do it on top, but I would find it easier, probably do it the other way around. the beard, go watch how I do. I've painted so much hair. Just go watch how I paint hair. All right. Not work. Not work. Where are you? I painted this bust of Strahd. And would love to know any places for improvement. All right, again, we're getting a photo with a lot of natural light and shadow, so it is difficult for me to tell like how much of this is painted. It looks quite flat in photo. You don't need to make the cave, dude. I actually would prefer pictures on a gray, like a light gray background than on a black background. Yeah, so this is like an extreme. There's so much extreme lighting here. Like you can see on the face that like it's very difficult for me to interpret the painting because of how heavy the like top down lighting is on this figure. You guys see that? Like it's quite clear on the bat, like just how black underneath the wings are. Like I can't see the details of the eyes and stuff. So when you take photos like of your figures, try and place the lights like more in front of them. So you want like your light, a soft light like at a 45 degree in front of the figure. Okay, maybe even like 30 degrees. That way it's easier to see all the details and not have stuff like, yeah, completely lost. I'm trying to think where I can really give you some good feedback on this piece. Because of the fact that it's difficult for me to read. One thing I can definitely say is that like the outlining could be much stronger on parts. Volumes could be represented more. So like, for example, here on these metal plates, right? Like actually the shadows aren't bad, but you've put quite a bright highlight here. But we need to represent that bright highlight on some of these other parts in order to make this feel more metallic. You could see the difference that just like adding those shines make. Same with this, like here. If we're gonna put this like highlight kind of here on the top, I'm gonna make sure that we hit these edges so that this thing really shines. Same with some of this stuff. Gotta paint these like button things. Make sure we catch some light on these guys. Like this guy has, this thing over here has like, I can't even see the details to draw it. But yeah, it just needs more. I don't love busts like this that have like all this texture work. It makes it very difficult to paint. This is also extremely difficult to paint effectively. Like here, like this I'm all assuming is shine from the camera, like a more shiny surface, but I'd probably want more red in these top parts. It looks extremely black. I'm guessing most of this was painted with an airbrush. Yeah. So an airbrush can get you part of the way there, but it can't really represent like details and highlights very well. If you want to resubmit photos of this guy with a more neutral light, I would be happy to take another look at it. Double Knife. Hi Eric. I really enjoyed painting busts and doing cast shadows, and I would like some advice on how to improve. Okay. Hi David. This is not David in the chat. David, the statue of David right here. All right. It's okay. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Let's look at it just in black and white. So, where are the darkest shadows? What's the big problem? Yeah, under the jaw, right? What's the big problem we see? And this here, this cast shadow, this informs us of the lighting direction, right? So we know that the light is coming in at this angle to cast a shadow across his nose like that. Okay? What does that mean for this? If I come in with a light in this direction, will some of this hit under the jaw there? This is basically the same angle as the jaw, right? So here's the issue. We need to readjust the shape of the face here in order to... We need to readjust these shadow shapes in order to accurately represent the light direction. Like, most of this hair over here should be in shadow. Reaper Miniatures the tier 1 sub. Hello. 9 months. Thanks. Okay. So we need to reevaluate the overall shape of the face. The neck shadow here is also probably not quite dark enough. So it ends up looking a bit noisy because we don't have a very clear light and shadow side. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to darken some parts down. So that we more accurately distinguish the light and shadow planes. Okay, so let's lower this. The side of his face would be much more in shadow here. Get some shape to the hair of these volumes that round away from the light. Get this cast shadow appropriately dark. Okay, the lips are probably too dark. Then we need a little shadow under the eyelid here because this is a volume. These are good. I like this shadow. This is nice. That one's pretty good. It's nice and soft. It's not too much. Okay, so that's part. Like here, we're just readjusting some of the shadows. Let's see what that sort of does to the light direction, right? And then we need to raise the light some. Let's put this on top. Okay, so now this is much too dark for this part of the face. Okay, so we have to lift this some because this area is in light, is partially in light. Okay, it's not fully in light, but it is partially in light. Okay, probably raise some of the light of the hair. In the ear some. Okay, something like that. Then we would have a bit more light on the neck. The lips are definitely like way too dark. Push that shine in the eye a little. So you can see I pushed just the light on the under the jaw there just a bit, and how much it sort of changes this. And then more light sort of here on the upper chest. Okay, so now if we look, and this probably needs a bit to be slightly lighter. So now if we turn off that, we can see that the, I'm going to tone this down just a touch. There we go. Like this is a bit flat and there's not really clear shape between the two. And then by adding more shadow and then adjusting the light side, we create more distinctions between the two planes, the side plane of the head and then the light plane. Okay, this sort of 3/4 Rembrandt lighting. Got some cleanup to do in some areas too, but hi Sammy, thanks for the tier 1. Does that make sense to you guys? There should be a highlight down here also, but I'm getting very specific about where highlight placement would be, but yeah. Okay. Permand. Oh. Welcome. It's your turn. Hi Eric, looking for general feedback on this bust from a bit ago. I'm a colorblind painter. Sorry for the photo quality isn't the best. I never got great finished photo. It's pretty good. All right. Pretty strong overall, I would say. Kind of just looking from like a focal perspective, seems pretty good. Like not pushing shadows too much on lighter elements, not pushing. I like the purple lamellars, pretty nice. Maybe the blacks are like slightly too gray. Might be overdoing the highlights just a little bit, or they're too large. But I would say from an overall perspective, it looks pretty good. I like the non-metallic is also pretty nice. My biggest feedback for you would probably just be like a general like level of finish quality, because I think from a light placement perspective, it's all quite nice. Like, I don't have too much to say about like your light placement. I think the weaker elements of this are just a like a finish level, right? So like this stuff looks pretty rough. This is pretty rough. Blending wise, like this is very rough. This is always interesting to me because there's kind of two ways to go about this. Okay, so you can when talking about like a painterly sort of brushstroke style, you can get away with like a more brushstroke style. But what the key to a good like brushstroke style is in the confidence of the stroke. So just being like, you know what, there's a highlight here, or there's some light here, there's some light here. We do this in like 4 brush strokes, right? Just bam, bam, you know? The issue comes instead when it gets patchy like this, right? So this looks patchy, like there's it's thinner paint, there's lines like showing through, right? Like there are layers showing through. It's like coffee staining, right? There's like, this is what we call coffee staining. There's like this line here. There's like these lines here. Okay, so this will elevate your painting a lot more, is try and have some confidence in the layers. And then you can always refine from there by working thinner, right? So we create thicker stroke, and then, right, that's like nice coverage. Then if we want to blend this, then we can take something in between and start to work thinner, and in your thinner strokes, like you can build up the blend from there. But doing this with more confidence will push a nicer result overall. I also think you're probably going too white on the shirt, right? Like you're probably pushing a little too far. So, right, bam, bam. And you can like begin to work softer and blend it out from there. Reaper, thanks for the raid. Welcome in, raiders. Yeah, the sound effects are absolutely mandatory. Sound effects is what's going to give you the confidence. When you go to place a brush stroke and you're just like, you hit your Emerald Lagasse, you're just like bam, bam, bam. Okay, you might also be working like overworking the paint. That's generally when this sort of rough sort of textural buildup starts to happen. because you're not letting the paint dry enough and you're kind of scrubbing at the surface. So my recommendation to you would be to try and paint a bust in limited brush strokes, right? And then refine. Okay. Worked on this in Banshee's class. I'm trying to figure out what are the next steps in improving this model beyond blending. Blending. Painting smaller. Line work. I mean, overall, it's quite good. It's like, what do you want to get out of it? You know? Like, what's the aim? Is it an exercise, or is it just... Like, if you want to, like, render it, then render it. If it's just an exercise, then it's an exercise and you leave it here. But, yeah, I mean... How do I improve an exercise, you know? Like, yeah, you did a good job. If you want to make it ultra refined, then it's just time, you know? I'm not gonna sit here and render the figure for you, because you know how, you should know how to render at this point, like blending and sharper line work, thinner Damascus pattern, you know, popping highlights here and there where you need more, like on the sword in the back. When you're at this stage, do you start the process of refining? I start the process of refining earlier than this. Typically, I sketch, and then I begin to refine in areas, like specific areas. So it's like, I'll get the sketch kind of done and might not even be this advanced of a sketch, right? This is like a super advanced sketch to like, now you'd have to start refining everything individually. But, yeah, I just work on one element at a time, whether it's the face or the chest and skin, the arms, right? The swords, the wraps, you know, the teeth. Everything gets refined individually. How do you start the process? How do I start refining? You just work thinner. You just work thinner, one part at a time. More intermediate layers, you know? Working in smaller areas, working sharper and more deliberate. What about the highest value on the skin? It's fine. No, it's good. It's quite bright. I would say, if anything, like, other parts need to go brighter. Like the shines on certain metallic parts and stuff. Don't love that. It's a little weird. but I'm guessing it was exercise, part of the exercise. You said you start earlier. What's your thought process when it's time to start? Where in the process do you begin honing in? When it works, I mean, this is like a very individual thing. When you're working on, like, when you choose to refine is up to you. Some people sketch longer than others. Like Alfonso, for example, sketches much longer than I do. Like, I start refining earlier than he does. So that's kind of up to you. Typically I can get a sketch working within like 20 minutes or something. But like, this is the important thing to remember, right, guys? It's not like there's a line where you're like, now I'm okay, sketch done, now I'm refining. It's not just like a there's not a cut where it's like, oh, this is when the sketch is done, right? It's like, okay, you just begin to refine the sketch more and more, and then it, like, you just slowly get more refined over time, right? You start really big, the big shapes and everything, and then you work smaller and you work smaller and you work smaller and you thinner and thinner and thinner and smaller and smaller and smaller until it's yeah. It's when you put down the size 4 and pick up the 00. I never pick up the 00. And I rarely put down the size 4. I'm almost always working in a size 3, but sometimes I work in a size 6, sometimes I work in a size 1. What size of brushes do I recommend? How about this? Artist Opus size brushes? What if I told you that there's a box with exactly the size brushes that I recommend? I've taken one out, but typically it's a large flat point, a small flat point, a size 1, and 2 size 3s. What's a flat point? This is a flat point, also called a filbert. So there's rounded filberts and pointed filberts. You can see that the brush is crimped. So if you work on it this way, it flattens out. If you work on this way, it tends to stay more chiseled. Well, check this out. What if is it exclamation point tools? Hey, thanks, Nightbot. All right. Okay. All right, I'm going to take There's nothing wrong with the blue light. I just don't like it. It just doesn't... It's just unnecessary. I don't think it adds anything to the figure. All right. I will be right back. Open wire. I've been slowly working on this bust. Just ahead for now. It's the first time really trying to push my skills. Its purpose is to figure out where I'm weak and how I can improve to keep pushing so I can hopefully Eventually start to competing in smaller painting competitions. Any advice or feedback would be greatly appreciated. Sure. So, number one thing I see is too much focus on detail right away. Also, a lot of yellow. Seeing a lot of yellow, but that might just be from the lighting. But not 100% sure because the cork looks very yellow. Also, like to do this. Start thinking in values more. Okay, guys, seriously. This applies to everyone. You need to think in values more. If we look at this, these elements are like, this is supposed to be gold, right? Right now, the two metals, which we've talked about metals a lot, right? I talk about non-metallics all the time. What's wrong with the metals? Yeah, they're all the same value. They're all one value. They don't use the full value range. They have less contrast than the teeth. Right? So the golds are like super light in value, and this rough steel up here is super dark in value. So they need to have a higher value range. All right? The teeth have a massive value range. So they're more like the metallic than the metallics are. And then the skin is quite dark. All right? The fur also has quite the high value range. Hi, Dave. So let's start. Let's start establishing some more light to the skin, okay? Okay, so I'm not gonna be changing the like colors really at all here. I'm just trying to push the value range more. All right. Well, let's push some highlights. Okay, that's a start. Then we need more light on the lips. We need generally more light on the teeth. So we can separate those teeth from the gums. Okay. Then we can pop some highlights on the teeth. We need Alright, so let's look at just that, like in terms of value. Okay. More readable. Okay. And we're going to push some general light on the fur, this like fur lining. Alright, we're trying to create visual distinction. I guess this is fur here, I don't know. Yeah, it is. Create some highlights on this. Alright, so we raise the overall light on that. And you can pop in some highlights on the gums and make them look kind of shiny. You know, they're kind of wet and glossy. Who's that? Troncho, hello. And I draw Caroline's, hi. Hi, Hecatina, hi. Hello, hello, hi. Alright, so that's the first thing. We need to create some distinction, some highlight, like some light to push the visuals here and create contrast. Okay. Alright, next thing. Let's add some. Well, we don't need we really don't need more shadows on the metal parts, but we need more highlights on the metal on these parts. Okay, so that means like because this is a rough metal, we need to create like through texture and whatever some, maybe the edges are a little more worn, they catch more light, you know, little dings and bashes here and there. Maybe those little scratches and stuff that starts to catch light a little bit, but we need some shiny spots, okay? Gonna make that look more metallic. All right, now to make these look metal, okay, the gold. So we need shadows, okay? The dark like the non-metallic gold also needs to be much more contrasted. And then we can come back. Add some shine. Okay, pushing those lights. Okay, so, right? Pushing the overall light, separating elements out more through value hierarchy, pushing the contrast, the darks on the metallics, and then adding some shines to metallics. And when we look at it all together, right? See just how much makes the face so much more readable. And then shadow and highlights. Okay. All right. Yeah. Overrated. Thanks for the prime. Appreciate it. Where am I? Voda. Hi, I'm back after a bit of long holiday and thought it would be good to get some thoughts on where to focus on carrying on with this guy. Looking forward to hear the good, bad, and indifferent. Okay. So, big thing I see, again, you guys tend to get focused on details. So this is a very super common thing. Everyone wants to get focused. They want to do details, so they paint things like this wood grain, and then you forget to do things like creating separation in the fingers. So it just becomes a hand blob, right? Focusing on all these little details, but not drawing the shape of the anvil, you know? So we need to focus on shapes, light and shadow, like painting more form, okay? So skin needs more light, right? Focus on the shapes. You can use your own photo as reference. Simplify the shapes. The top of the leg is in more light, right? The top of the foot. So you can see this is like all in shadow here. So try and focus on getting the overall form, like you don't need this much detail like in the forehead. And you can add more highlights. And then highlights is where you start to like create these little like wrinkles and stuff. You can start to push more light highlights and stuff on the shoulders. What is going on? Genotroop, and Nitro Spectra. Thanks for the tier 1s. Appreciate you both. Thank you. Yeah, the pick is definitely blown out too, but anyways, this is kind of the idea. Okay? And hyperfixation, thanks for the prime. Okay, then we have to add shadows. Create separation. Okay, you need separation between elements. See where you've done it in some areas, but you need more in others. Okay. Like this is quite good. You did it here. But you gotta do it like between the toes and stuff. It's tootsies. I also don't love the white on the toenails. It's a little much. Look at your own toenails. See, they're basically skin tone color, other than the tip of them. Right, so the part that hangs off the end is typically the white part of the toenail. All right, then when it comes to the base and stuff, okay, don't do, well, one, this is a little weird because this is supposed to be like a metal anvil and then these are rocks, so I would do this and this similar. But then things like the anvil, right, there's too much contrast here. Okay, try and simplify like this. Okay, so it's something more along the lines of like this top part is lighter. Okay, so it's a lighter part, and then you're gonna go darker on the sides. And then you get your details with the edges. Right, so any type of metallic, you don't need to like overdo the texture and the amount of detail like on each individual surface or plane. You want to focus on creating overall, like separating the sides from the top, and then you can add scratches and things on top of that. Will make it much more readable overall. All right. So, yeah, my biggest advice to you would just be like to simplify sometimes. Focus first on form and shape. Okay. Sea cat. Oh my god, there's a lot of text to talk about a Rubric Marine. After about 5 years of trying, I can now paint consistent volumetric highlights. And this is my third Rubric Marine using that approach. Since then, I feel like I've plateaued a bit and unsure how to improve further. I'm particularly uncertain about whether the light placement is correct from all angles. Well, it's impossible to make it correct from all angles. Literally impossible. As I intended for this to be a good quality tabletop piece for my army. I'd also appreciate some advice on color transitions. I'm struggling to find a good intermediate color between the gold and the red. I'm using Pro Crow Bright Red, but it doesn't adhere well over gold. I don't know about Pro Crow Bright Red, so sorry there. I've been using blue as a mid-tone because it covers the gold nicely, but the red has very poor coverage over it. Do you have any recommendations for an intermediate color that grips the gold better and helps the red cover cleanly? So you're painting the gold first, and then you want to paint the red over top of it. Well, I would find a red, I guess, with just better coverage. Or use like a neutral gray and then paint red. Like, so. It seems to look okay though. Alright. Your volumetrics are not bad. Okay. What is going to help you is, one, this is your third marine of painting this approach. What you need to do is just paint more. Just paint more dudes. You've painted 3. That's not even a squad. That's not even a kill team. Paint more. That's the secret. Things that will really push your painting though is, one, clean up. Like, I'm seeing a lot of little messy areas, right? Seeing gold in areas where it's not supposed to be, like where it's not super clean. Lining around other areas, okay? Like, some parts are pretty well lined, like around the face here looks pretty well lined. But then I'm seeing like blue crossing into red in some areas. Blue crossing into red, right? Okay, so we need to work on dark lining and then the sharpness of some of the lights. All right, so coming back with, you need like a darker color. I don't know what color exactly. For golds, typically like a nice dark brownish red works. Okay, so we have to create separation. I've talked about dark lining so much, but it makes everything so much more readable, guys. Right, like outlining that makes that shape so much more clear. Fleet Admiral 1 of 2, thanks for the follow. And Ohana Hobby Workshop, thanks for the follow. And Scallyvet, thanks for the prime. Appreciate it. Ohana Hobby Workshop, thanks for the raid. Hi everyone. Yeah, so things like this, things like on the helmet here, trying to be more clean, right? Like you've got some gold here that's in the blue. Okay. Creating separation line work. So you do the line work and then you can always come back and try and, so you often paint the dark lines and then you come back with the blue and try and shrink that dark line, right? Try and shrink the line. If you're having a problem with this red, start with a darker red or something like these sort of red oxide colors. Try another red with a better coverage. There's definitely reds with good coverage and reds with bad coverage. Okay, clean these up. then you can push the highlights. I also like to use, when doing red, try not to use too much like white, pink, you know? Like to use something with a little more, maybe a little bit of orange in it. Like you can mix some kind of like bright orange. I'm not going to sit here and draw every dark like edge on all of these, but you get the idea, right? So, and this is just going to come down to practice and brush control and skills and stuff, you know? Like, and that just takes practice. Just, it's the key, guys. I know you want to jump straight into being amazing, but a lot of it is just practice and patience and time on the brush. Let me know when you've painted 30 Rubric Marines. Because I'm guessing every single one will get better and sharper. But your overall light placements are pretty good. And then you could start to think about like more edge highlights and things like that, things that will make the details pop out more. Honestly, like on a Rubric Marine, I don't think you even really need to paint that many volumetric highlights, because where are you really putting volumetric highlights on this guy? Like the shoulder and the foot cap? Like, there's so much detail on these models that the heavy metal style like works pretty well. Yes, I'm saying rubric. That is what they are called. They're Thousand Suns Rubric Marines. Okay, makes sense. I hope so. And you can start to push the highlights more. Smaller edge highlights to, like, if you want to make the armor look kind of shiny. But you get it. Cool. Time, dude. It's just time. Sophie says, would you give me general feedback? Thanks in advance. All right, Sophie, where are you? Here it is. Don't forget to go back up, Eric. Not bad. Pretty cool. Like the purple flame. Well done. Well done with the really bright core to the flame. Looks really nice. I think I would try to let the purple influence a bit more. But in general speaking, I think, so it's like this sort of purpley magenta color. like this. Yeah, I think this is pretty sweet. I like the base is pretty nice. Bats and stuff are cool. How do I submit a model for feedback? You have to be a subscriber, join the Twitch, or join the Discord, !Discord, and then you link your Twitch to your Discord account. And you will get access to the Feedback Friday channel. Okay, so yeah, I would try and have the purple influence a little more of the surroundings. The light will fall off pretty quickly, but if it's a dark scene, like if it's a nighttime scene, the flame is going to impact a lot more than if it was like a daytime, right? So we need to think about, like, even if it's just a little bit, like there might be some purplish tone on some of these parts, right? Something like so. All right, then I think you may have made the shadows on her skin a little dark. So a little high contrast. We'll try and bring this up some. And she's supposed to be pale, so we don't need like these save these like ultra deep shadows just for like the absolute darkest areas, like things like dark lining basically. Will make her look more pale overall. So you bring that up just a bit. Okay, so we could see the difference in her skin now. Because when we have to think about, like, if you paint her skin that contrasted, it makes the tree look less finished because the tree doesn't have, I mean, the tree's not going to have the same shine that her skin will or her hair, but it, I mean, it needs to have, it's very low contrast right now, so yeah, just try and push the light a little bit there. Same with the metals, probably need a bit more lights on them. I'll do some kind of like cold yellow. I know there's supposed to be like a sort of beat up brass bronze or something, but push some highlights here and there, okay? A little bit more. All right. Outside of that, I think we could push just a bit more light on the tree. And then I would take and vignette the base a little bit. Just lower some of the values down just a touch. Just going to help draw more focus on her where we want it, right? Like that doesn't seem like I changed very much, but if you look at the before and after, you can lower it down just a bit, right? It really starts to like pull you into her more. Lisana, thanks for the prime. Appreciate you. Okay. So, yeah, pushing some lights where you need it, adding a bit more of the purple, and then vignetting the scene a little. Okay. Will. Hi Eric, painted up these Battletech for tabletop. Happy to hear your thoughts. Thanks. They look cool, man. Look like mechs. If you want to push it more, I would push some edge highlights. I like the white elements. I think they just need some edge highlights to like pop out. That's blurry. It's blurry too. Yeah. So for me, like if you want to make something look more like quite mechanical, we need to, like, you got good dark, like really good dark lines. Now we just need to pop some edges. So here you got this sort of like yellow. I would go up even to something like almost like a sunny skin tone sort of color, and just be kind of selective. But you can see where the like paint is kind of shining a little bit, right? If you want these to have, you don't have to paint every single edge, but you can use the photo as kind of reference. You'd see some of these ones that are catching in the photo. This will add a lot, okay? It's gonna make the whole figure just look more, well, one, it's gonna brighten the figure up, okay? And it's also gonna make it look like sharper and more mechanical. So you can be pretty choosy with it, and then depending on how shiny you want them to look, I'm not going to do the whole mech, so let's kind of focus on the chest here. Once you've done that, then you can come in with an even like lighter color, like almost like a ice yellow or something like that, and then you can be like very picky and place like a few, just like you did on the glass screen, right? You pick out a few little spots to like really pop the light, make it nice and sharp. Once you get good at it, you can do this in like probably like 30 minutes to an hour per figure of just like being kind of choosy where you like pick out which edge highlights to do. So you should be able to see like between like just how much damn it. Insert a photo. There we go. Right? It just adds some further detail and definition. Even at like a distance, you know? Eric, what's your favorite part of Feedback Fridays? I like anytime teaching or coaching or doing feedback, things like when Z shows up with a piece like that and you're just like, boom, look at this like figure that I leveled up on. Like that's always that's my favorite part of teaching in general. Getting the sub bump? Nah. I'm certainly not doing the Feedback Friday for the money, I'll tell you that much. Doesn't hurt, but hey Eric, this is the first ever competition piece, not GD, and I'm starting as a novice in Poland. Okay. What are your thoughts on the overall composition, colors, paint job, creativity? Does anything strike you as good or especially bad? I want to take the feedback to the next project along with everything I've learned so far. I swear the base is impossible to photograph. All right. I mean, it's pretty good to me. It's definitely not novice. It's a little airbrushy in some spots. Novice, guys. Stop sandbagging. I like the color composition. I like the skin especially. The gold is a bit flat in terms of like color variety. It's a little one-dimensional. Yeah, I mean, this isn't master's level, but this is definitely at least like this is high standard level. Yeah, I think the gold for me is the thing, is like, yeah, a little flat, but I like the overall color composition. I mean, teal, magenta, and purple works well together. So, and then you've got gold acting. And in fact, I can explain it real quick if you guys want. Let me show you what kind of color composition is this, dudes? Do you guys know? It's not, I mean, it is sort of complementary, but it's not. Yeah, it's both. It's technically both. So it is a, what do we have? we don't have very much teal. Teal is kind of off on its own. What we're dealing with here is a kind of split complementary, but the purple and the magenta are kind of doubled. So the yellow acts as a complementary of this and then this. So we have this sort of like dark bluish teal that's kind of like down here. In fact, the only thing I'm not really liking is the bright lime green, but so we have this sort of teal, we have like a bright magenta, and then purple. The purple is quite close. It's very similar in tone, something like this. So these two kind of act as almost one color, and then you have the yellow. It's sort of warm yellow like this. So you actually have a sort of split complementary color scheme. So it's like if you imagine the wheel, right? The wheel like this. It's almost triadic, but it's going like this. Anyways, in terms of, where I would go with this is I would love to see some more pops of light on the gold. So let's just look at that real quick. And then I would like more color variation in the gold, but it feels like it ends slightly, like you're not quite getting to that like extreme highlight in some spots. Also being a little more consistent with the highlight placement. So yeah, I would like you to push that final highlight a little bit more. And then what would be nice is, I think this is a little boring. Yeah, what would be nice is adding a bit of color variety to the gold. It's not a tetradic though. It's because the magenta and the purple are too close together to be tetradic. So whether it's adding some like oranges, some subtle orange to the golds in certain areas, you know, like here it all goes just quite green. You could change it up a little bit, try and add some warmth to some areas, go more green in others. So it just creates a more interesting gold overall, right? I should look at, I know we looked at it on stream when Tebow was here. He had his Zinch guy. Like, look at the colors in the gold. There's lots of nice like color variation. You can even go like more greenish like this, get towards these like cool green colors, not quite that saturated. But you can play around and create more exciting color variety. So whenever you're doing non-metallic metal, just in general, try and be not so linear with like your color progression. Okay, it'll make, because you have like a very interesting kind of color in the skin, and then yeah, the golds are just very, yeah, I say one-dimensional. It's like very linear, so can make it much more interesting. Other than that, pretty good. Some parts are, yeah, a little rough because they're very airbrushy, and then you came to add like highlights like this. Try and spread those out a little bit more. Sometimes you want to paint the highlights in the recess. Okay, so the skin stretches here. You're going to have highlights not just on the edge, but oftentimes in the fold itself. Yeah. Yep. Does gold reflect or absorb green and blue? Gold reflects blue and green and blue. Gold just shifts it towards yellow. It shifts all colors towards yellow. It's like looking through yellow sunglasses. Just tints everything yellow. Okay. Cool. That's my advice to you. And you're not a novice. And Tippy, hi Eric. Some general feedback would be highly appreciated. What works and what can be improved. Okay. Well, I like the lighting. I like the colors a lot in this. There's some very nice warm tones. Skin's particularly nice. The hair looks very soft. Wood looks pretty good. The thing for me is going to be the armor, I think. Matt, are you going to which contest are you going to? Are you going to contrast or what? What am I doing? I'm sure they can move you. Or they just will move you. Okay, so on this one, I think the pants could be cleaner. I don't mind them that much, but they feel less refined than some other parts. It's not bad. What I do see is the metallics. The metallics are just not shiny enough, and some of the edge highlighting is a little extreme. So, what I would like to see is, this is a pretty good color, but we could go a little darker. So just a bit more shadow, a little bit less mid-tone. I know this is crazy to say, and normally say put more mid-tone in your metallics. People often lose the mid-tone, but here I'm going to say we actually want to reduce it a tiny bit. We want to darken this down a little more, make it a little bit more of a darker steel tone. want to chill on some of these edge highlights a little bit. Okay, and then the other thing is like, look at the highlight on the forehead. Okay, this highlight, I'm just gonna place this highlight right here. Okay, highlight on the forehead is like so much brighter than the metallic. So let's try and push some of the final highlight on the metallic a bit more. Not by a whole lot, but we gotta pick a couple spots. Just add a little bit more shine. I would also maybe introduce like a secondary reflection or something. His armor's not supposed to be like ultra polished, it's a little older. But yeah, we need like at least something a little bit, you know? Alright, fan, chill out. Making a bunch of noise. Okay. So something like that. And then more gradient in your edges, okay? So your edge is like too flat. So like this bottom edge here does not need to be this extreme. Okay, so we can tone this like way down. Make it thinner also. That bottom edge is not really catching light like the other edges, okay? I don't know if I explain it in a video, but I have this idea called what I call danger edges when it comes to metallics. It's essentially like you want to find the edge that's going to jab you in the eye. Okay. So, a bit more highlights on the metals, and I think you could add maybe a little bit more texture if you want to make them like kind of beat up. There's a few spots like you could add a little micro texture, dents and dings into it, little scratches and things. Can add some more character to the metals. Now, if we look, right, let's duplicate this, move it to the top. See how it changes it from like almost leathery to like really metallic-y, okay? Cool. All right. 330. With a Space Marine and a tank, and we got a few more. All right. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. Take a quick break. Do I think the highlight on the face shoulder is too large and drawing attention away from the face? I mean, it could be, but I'm just trying to show how metal should reflect. All right. Be right back. Okay, hello. Contrast is in Warsaw, by the way. Luffin. Hi, Eric. I was wondering if you could give me some feedback on this stern guard. I've been painting since September, but I feel like this is my best result so far. This is pretty impressive for since September. I'd love some general feedback on what I can work on and what I'm doing well. Particularly, I'm wondering if I should do NMM or how I can improve my metallics. I am not a true metallic expert, but they look okay. Lastly, I wanted to see if you had any mechanical tips on recess shading the gold trim on the shoulders. I'm also including a photo where the whites are more distinguishable. Yeah, recess shading would definitely help, some particularly around the golds, so let's take a look. So volumetrics, colors look pretty good. I really like the blue. The blue looks sharp. The white also looks great. Not going too dark on the white. So that's nice to see. Red also looks pretty good. Yeah, the golds could definitely be better, and yeah, you need some more outlining. I mean, literally the way you outline gold is the same way you outline anything else, right? So it just comes down to just painting thin and trying to like paint in a you don't need like pure black here, but we could use something like even this dark, sort of dark grayish color, maybe like a dark brown gray or something. Yeah, you just want to go around like hi, Conton. You just want to go around and try and create some more distinction here, you know? Like the true metallics are doing a lot for you right in this photo to make these look darker, but yeah, you can definitely recess shade this with normal paints to get an even sharper line, particularly around the blue. So in the blue you might want to use like an actual black or extremely dark tone like this. A very dark value to create that line work there. But there is really no shortcuts to this. It's just being careful. Then I would say in some parts of the white, you like around some of these areas around like the metals and stuff, where the metal meets the face mask, you could actually darken it just a bit more on like the major plane changes. So like here at the helmet, like we don't need to go, we don't need black as like a shadow color for the white, but to create like a even more visual separation between different plane, like different sections of the helmet. I've talked about this a little bit before, but basically if you think about the construction of the armor, where the armor articulates, right? So certain panels are going to articulate, certain panels are not. So where the armor actually articulates is where we want to add like true blacks, okay? So all you have to do is think like, does this element slide over top of the other element? So like here at the foot, right? Like these two plates, they are stacked and they shift and slide over top of each other. So you get like a true black line in there. Okay. Like in between like these fingers, like these have to articulate, right? So this is where you want that black line. Where you don't necessarily have a black line is like this plate. I don't think this plate like actually shifts and slides over top of it. It's just another plate sort of like raised on top of the other one, okay? So that's one thing. Your highlights are quite good on the blue. I think you could even consider I see you've got like a little bit of this very light blue. Who is that, by the way? Tay, hello, and Faltor, hello. Right, I think we could maybe add just a touch more highlight in a few spots. You really want to make like it shine, if you want to really make it shiny, particularly around like fingers and stuff. Here, like I would try and push the final shine on, like get a little bit more definition. Just enhances the readability some. The neck is actually quite good. I wouldn't do too much to that. But maybe like up here you could push like a little bit brighter highlight on this part or something. Maybe even on the knees just a touch, or like around these things. You can push that highlight just a bit further. Okay, things like that. Just going to enhance the readability, because we're always just searching for definition. And then on the red is definitely needs to be pushed a little more. So like here we've got this red, and I like this sort of color, this sort of salmony color you have here. So on these parts it's like around the ejection port, on the top of this ridge, like we want to make sure we come back and like line that. Make sure we line this. I actually think your metals are pretty good. You could maybe have like a bit more outlining around a couple pieces, but I don't think it's bad. Even something like on this scope here, I think you've got this, like I would maybe come up just a little bit and try and add one more little layer of highlighting there. Always just looking to push that definition where we can. So like this guy, I'm gonna like create a little volumetric highlight here on this, on the purity seal. The wax is kind of shiny. And then taking a sort of gray, brown, black like this. You're welcome. Create some, whatever, some writing or whatnot on these guys. I've talked about how to do purity seals before, but essentially the way I like to do it is like if you want to make some very small writing, I like to do kind of dashes like this. So I'll do this sort of effect, and then I might break it up so there's like paragraphs. And then I like to come back and try and create some little ascenders and descenders on a few spots to create this sort of effect of different like taller letters and stuff. And when you see it really small, it looks kind of handwritten. A little more interesting than trying to just draw like little wavy lines. This looks more like writing than this does. So yeah, these need it too. And it looks like you rubbed some paint off with your hand down here on these purity seals. But very nice overall. Really cool. Need some highlights. A little more highlight on the this brush. Whatever this thing's called. The crest. The head brush. You can do dots or whatever. It's the chain is like rattling against the glass light. It's annoying. But anyways, you can see it's not like huge changes, but it does enhance like the overall definition a bit. Because like this thing guy looks quite good here, like really good like this. But then, yeah, when you start to zoom in, it could be more defined. We'll look at the back real quick. Yeah, looks nice. Okay, Andrew, hello again. This is my first of 6 vehicles I'm currently working on. It's a continuation of a sister's army that I am hoping to wrap up in the next few months. Currently mostly done, but it's missing some TMM smokestacks and the bits I will batch paint soon. Love general feedback, or yeah, especially with the light rendering on the or other glaring issues. Sure. Spotlight is a bit much. Not quite sure where the spotlight is coming from. So yeah, you guys can see this thing is like super dark, right? Here's the thing about lights, okay? When you have lights like this, the light needs to be brighter. So the thing that is emitting light, this, is not bright enough compared to that. So we need to make sure that the actual light itself is like a nice saturated, like, and almost goes to like pure white, because it'll basically the color surrounding it, right, the color that emits off of the light is what tells us what color the actual like light source is. Okay, so you can essentially go to like pure white on some parts, and then so I would go with like the bright. This would be like the darkest color I would use on the light. In fact, I would use like an extremely light tone like that. So it would be like this, right? That would be the darkest color I would use on the light, and then the fact that then it goes to blue around it lets you know that that light is like a blue light, you know. I think the spotlight might be a bit much. I think in here it's maybe a little intense. Like I can't tell what color the case, like the Stormbolter casing is anymore, because it's so like yellow white. So I would tone it down just a bit. And then yeah, you need some to add some shine. So using like a silver or something, right? Like add some edge shines to these elements, right? You can use silver paint to do this. You can actually use a pencil, but you have to varnish it afterwards or else it'll rub off. How do you determine to go lighter on the source rather than darker on the emitted light? You go lighter on the source because it is literally a light source. Like it should look like it's glowing, right? So light, right? It should be the brightest thing. The highest value. And then I would recommend, honestly, like in some of these parts, like pushing some of the light just a bit more. And if I hit this with like a dry brush or whatever, just like gently try and hit some of the edges and the stuff, because it's so dark at the moment, like I can't really read the shape of the tank. Maybe it looks different in hands, but I think you could, like I like some of this chipping and stuff, like I want more of that around, you know? Will help make the rest of the tank more readable. So like all these rivets and things, they need little touches here and there, and more is more in this case. More is good. You get my point. And then yeah, chill a little bit. Also, like if this is a spotlight, like does the side of the cupola, is that right? Is that the term? Like might not even be in the direct light, you know? Okay. Hope that stuff makes sense. See how much adds that, like, starts to bring out the shapes. And then what I would say is you might want to add some like decal or markings. I know it has some markings and stuff already on it, but like some like subtle markings might be nice, just to break up the black shape a little more. Vehicle markings, whatever, unit markings, stuff like that, and then you can tone them down so like that they're not pure white. You can make them like grayish instead. People, I already looked at this. You already posted it on Instagram too. I know the tree is still there, but after much thought, I decided to at least try and make it work by lowering her, so at least it doesn't look like it's sprouting from her head. And still fix some light reflections in the backdrop later, but on the meantime, please give me your thoughts. It's on Instagram. It's done. I mean, it looks good. I like the texture. The jacket's really nice. Volumes seem to be rendered very correctly. Nice, cool lights on everything. Looks good. Yeah, I mean, the backdrop is the thing that I have the more issues with, and it seems to be all right. You guys want me to... Are you ready for a roasting? You ready for a subtle roasting? Here's the actual, like... Here we go. Hey, people. What's the matter? Anybody know? Straight roasted, dude. The girl's reflection doesn't line up. Should be directly below her. I mean, yeah, it's fine. It's good. I still find it weird that she's like in the background and the foreground, but... overall, I mean, I like the piece. It's cool. It's pretty good. She's very well painted. I have really not much at all to say about her. I think the lights could have been brighter in the background, but... Might just be the picture's not bright enough. Because that doesn't feel... I mean, I'm guessing it's slightly brighter than this. What if we... This could just be... what's it called thing? Yeah. It's like the overall image is like not quite bright enough. I think it's... Probably should be... I bet it looks probably closer to that in hand. Hi, Treximal. You'll see this and you'll hear this in 2 hours and 50 minutes. Yeah, good. All right. Very nice. Sammy. Hi Eric, would love some general feedback on this tiny bust I painted over the weekend. I imagine him standing in a cold light during the night, and I consider adding a secondary spooky light coming from the direction of the tentacle. What up, fam? Pretty much everything is still whip in different stages. Tentacle on the left side in general. Wait, what? Tentacle and the left side in general I intended to work on. Oh, okay. Nighttime. Not getting a ton of nighttime vibe. Also not getting a ton of cool vibe. So let's see what we can do about that. Alright, hold on. Let's see if it works. Sticky tack. The lamp, huh? What if I just like tie them together? Maybe helped a little bit. Okay, let's duplicate this layer. So, cold light. Does this feel cold or just whiter? Does it feel super cold to me? Let's duplicate it. And then what we're gonna do is play with the color balance a little bit. So the highlights, if we want to be cold, we're gonna make them cold. Right? So we're going to shift them more bluish. Okay? Didn't help that much. I'm just going to turn it off. It's cool enough in here now. And it's super annoying me. Stop jangling. All right, and then if you want the lights to look even colder, what if we warmed up the midtones a little? Okay, so those are not the that's midtones. In this case, we're gonna warm up the shadows. So by warming up the shadows slightly, just a little bit, we are able to make the cool lights feel cooler by comparison. Okay? Now, to make it feel more nighttime, we have to reduce the ambient light. So, we want to darken the midtones some. Okay, so we're going to darken the midtones and then bring back up the highlights a little. Not quite that much. Something like this. Okay. So you could see the difference in ambience here. This feels very neutral. Now we start to get some like color ambience, right? You can see just how warm this is, this green. You have to start shifting the hue more towards these blues, okay? And the weird thing about shifting like skin tones and browns is what happens to browns as they shift towards cold, right? So this is like orange, right? We have to go all the way around to this side. The only way to do that is to go through the middle. The only way to go through the middle is to go through what color? Anybody know? We go through gray. That's correct. So we have to go through these grayish tones in the mids, and they will start to feel cold by contrast. All right. So by using a gray on an orange, in the lights, it starts to feel blue, even though this is a neutral gray. See, it's already this color. Then if we want, now that we've gone through the gray, we can start to add a little bit of this like bluish color. It's still very desaturated, but for the final highlights we can start to add a little bit of actual blue. And we'll get a very cool tone, okay? Don't be scared to modulate your colors more, all right? The mid-tone is what determines how we sort of perceive the colors. We perceive the colors based on the entire context. All right. So when we perceive like everything in context together, but that's why everything has to shift together, right? So like if we make some things more blue, right? We have to make everything more blue. So like the handkerchief or the necktie, whatever, also has to shift more blue. The highlights on the what's it called? They gotta shift blue. Okay, so everything has to shift together. Like we apply an Instagram filter over the top of it, but okay, so that's the big thing. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I like the general rendering of the volumes and stuff is pretty good. Uh, some things could be, cleaned up a bit and sharper, like little little parts like the shirt and stuff maybe could be lighter. Some of the black lines are a little thick, but I think overall, like, the piece is pretty good. Yeah, probably could use a little color, but if you want to make him feel warmer also, or like maybe, because this is very, what do you want to call it? Really Cthulhu, Imagine this guy like in Maine somewhere. Maybe we add some warmth around his skin. Make it feel kind of cold and like he's cold, not like cold in terms of ambience, but yeah, we could play around with some colors and stuff to do things like that. Then I would actually darken the hair a little bit overall. Like this highlight maybe comes up a little. Oop, that's the wrong layer. This highlight maybe comes up like a little too high. Just tiny things, but pretty good. A lot of. Didn't I just already look at one? Am I crazy? Voda. No, I did. I looked at this. So you resubmit and then submit another one. Let me look at this raccoon. Real fast. Looks good. I'll look at it next week. If you want. But honestly, like, yeah, this is pretty sweet. Base is, I'm assuming, not done. I'll read it real quick. Interested in your feedback on this model. Still partially work in progress. Yes, the base isn't done. Where I tried to split cold, warm ambience. Okay. It's a strong directional light. Quite a busy model with tons of elements. Model is mostly finished, other than the blue roll on his back, and adding a bit of ambient reflections from the green base to integrate it. I mean, it looks good. Like, some of the textures maybe a little too big. That value is not quite right. Overall, I think it's pretty strong. Like that cast shadow is pretty good. Yeah. Finish the base. The kilt's a little weird. So, yeah, I'll look at some things just real quick. Because I don't think there's a ton to comment on here without, like, going crazy nitpicky. I am going to check it in values real fast. Well, it looks all right. Yeah, okay. So, Dave was saying, there is a couple little weird spots. Like this is too far to the left. It should be more this way. Or it's too far to the right. It should be more this way. This also, like, we want to try and create a bit more distinction between the cast shadow if you're going for that. Same with this guy. Just try and be, whenever you're doing a cast shadow, just like try and make it a little more distinct than you think. Also, these parts are always super hard because like here you might actually, this shadow might actually run like into this because of the fact that it's like curled, so you're getting both the cast shadow like across it and the natural shadow, so you have both there, so it's transitioning from a volumetric shadow into a cast shadow. This value is too light based on the values of these parts. So you want to make sure that this shadow, right, these values, these match. So you can see that this is too light at the moment based on the shadow, the volumetric shadows on the other yellow, right? And then if that's that dark, we're looking at it under in terms of the values here. Does this shift the same amount as this? Right? So maybe, maybe not. Maybe the blue doesn't go quite dark enough. So maybe this should actually be like a little darker. This is what's tough about, this can be very hard about cast shadows, and this is why I recommend whenever you do shadows in general, is you should mix your values first. So there is no difference when you do cast shadows between the values of a cast shadow and a volumetric shadow. Both are just the absence of light, okay? So you need to make sure, see, because it's different down here. So that value was different than it was up here. So you need to make sure that the light, right, is the same. Then if you want to add skylight or whatever, you would have some, but skylight is like, right? So if you're adding a an additive light on top of the shadows from the sky or whatnot, and one, it's not going to affect fabric very much unless it's very shiny, but it's a very subtle thing, and you don't want to overdo it. So they are ambient, they are reflected lights from the sky that might affect a part of it, like so. But this part here probably wouldn't get affected very much because his like jacket might block the light or something. Yeah. And like under here would not be affected. So like this shadow of his jacket under here is not the same. Wait, what? Oh, I want to add. Is not the same as it is over here. See? So consistency. Consistency in values across multiple elements. That's why I always just determine what the shadow value is, what the light value is, then I create variations off of that. And every material should change evenly. Travis, thanks for the tier 1. Thank you. Shadows are just shadows, dude. The values are the same. Whether it's a cast shadow or volumetric shadow, it does not matter. All right. Brush Mama, you're finished. Going to the contest like this with slightly updated owl that you don't have a good photo of. Okay. Let me look. It looks nice. Yeah, looks good. Good luck in the contest. Metal Vinichov. Metal Vichinov. Vichikov. Those are the hardest name for me. Brush for Hire. Hello. Hi, Sean. Thanks for the raid. Welcome in, everyone. Travis, you just subbed. How do you get into the feedback chat? You have to link your Twitch and your Discord. There's instructions in the Discord on how to do it. I'm good, thank you. We're just doing Feedback Friday. Hello, what were you doing? What were you working on? FNZ Hobbies, thanks for the tier 1. Okay. I tried to paint this bust under a soft light like a clouded sky or enclosed between tall buildings. Alright, so just a neutral light. A diffused lighting. I'm quite happy with what I did, but you can see on the competition pic that I'm much darker than other pieces, and judges saw the lack of light as mistakes, which I understand. So the big question is, what should I do to make it clear that the mini is under a soft light, a softer light than usual? Okay, so allow me to explain something. It does not matter. I'm not even going to use your figure as reference. I'm just going to draw. All right, let's create a ground plane real fast. We've got a white room here. Here's our ground plane. Okay, we're going to paint a red bowl. Well, let's do blue. Right, so we're going to paint a bowl. Okay, I'm going to put a sphere right in the middle of this scene. Okay, so So here's a sphere. Now, when we photograph things, and when we're painting something, it's kind of like taking a photograph, right? We have to choose exposure. Okay? So when we expose for a picture, whites could still, the same whites, even though it's darker, when we take the exposure, it might look still white, right? Because when we take pictures at nighttime, the camera opens up the aperture the same way our eyes work. Our eyes like dilate so that we can let more light in. All right. So you can paint with the same level of contrast, but the shape and the form that you use determines how harsh the light is. Okay. So how direct the light is. So the interaction between light and shadow determines what kind of lighting direction something's, or what kind of light something is under. All right. So if we take this bowl, I'm going to take a light here, and I'm going to give this thing some volume. All right. So if I push the light on this, I do it like this, and half the ball, this half the ball is in light. Okay. Should have done that on another layer, but so let me do that real quick. Nope, no. All right, so we push the bowl. Okay, so this is all directly in light. All right. So very bright. All right. Now I'm going to duplicate this. Or not yet. All right. Then we get midtones, and the midtones, something like this, right? So we got the Terminator. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay, what else will we have in direct light? We need a highlight. This tells us how shiny the ball is. Okay, maybe it's right there. Actually be slightly higher, like this. There's our highlight. All right. Something like that. This ball is in shadow, right? It's in direct light from the top left. Okay, let's do this. Let's make another layer. What would this ball have if it was in direct light? Yeah. What would it be doing to the ground? Okay, yes, it would cast a shadow, like so. Yeah, something like that. And then what else do we need? Probably not that bright, probably more like that. And then we need another shadow under it. That is the occlusion shadow. So the occlusion shadow and the cast shadow are two separate things. Okay. So we have the occlusion shadow, we have the cast shadow. And this thing is in direct light. All right. Now what happens if I make this a diffused light instead? I could still expose for this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer. All right, so we got we got this layer now. Okay, so if it is a diffused light, we're going to have a much softer light, okay? So that means that this gradient is going to be much more gradual because the light is not as harsh. Okay, what's going to happen to the highlight? Well, we don't have a direct light source, so guess what? That highlight's going to spread out. But remember, we're keeping the same exposure, so whatever is creating that is now a much softer light. Okay, and then what happens to the cast shadow? It casts way less of a shadow because, again, it's a soft light now. So it just becomes a very subtle. And it's probably still casting a tiny bit of one, but it's probably something like that. So, but the occlusion shadow stays because that's its own thing, right? So we didn't get rid of the occlusion shadow. That stayed there, right? But we have two different types of, we have either a cast shadow or the soft shadow, okay? So the difference, let's combine these, no, whatever. The difference is either this or this. It's the same ball under two different lighting conditions, one a diffused light and one a harsh light source. But the volume hasn't changed, just things are softer on a softer light. Now, would the overall light be lower? Probably. You'd probably have something more like this under a more diffused light if we were taking the same picture, right? So one would look like this, one would look like this. But because when we paint, we're determining the exposure level of the paint job, you can paint it to this. You can paint it up here also. There's nothing stopping you because you're exposing the level of white. Just like when you take a photograph of your figure, you take the photo and determine how white you want the whites to be. Right? So when we paint, we create the exposure. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes, hope so. That was a big explanation to say that, yeah, well, it definitely looks better in this photo. That, yeah, you can still push the light more. Just because something is in a soft light does not mean that you can't push all the way up to those higher values. Okay. Time is it? It's almost 5. So not if I should stop here or not. All right, I'll do 6 with 2 koala because he got in like right at the beginning of the stream. But 3 o'clock, we were too far in. So Nitro Spectra, I'll have to get to you next time. So let's do this one. And then I will have to call it there. Okay. This is pretty good. I like it. Strong, nice definition. There's a couple weird things. I don't love this, by the way. This is another pet peeve of mine. This, can you guys see this? Do you see what I'm talking about? Do I need to explain it? Here's the edge of the base. Oh, I got pet peeves. Oh, yeah. Especially when it comes to basing. Okay. So the problem here is that the grass stops before the edge of the base. But the idea of the base is this like idea that like this grass would keep going out in every direction, right? And then you have a cylinder that is like, there's a line here that is like a slice out of the ground. Okay? So the base, the grass should continue right to the very edge. All right? Or if you don't want it to continue to the edge, stop earlier than the edge. Okay? Otherwise, it looks like he's just standing on a patch of circular grass. Okay. So, other parts. Let's talk about the figure. That's me ranting about the base. This is weird. Don't know what's going on here. This hip plate is rendered much better than this one. I don't know why it's like a weird shadow right in the middle of the ridge. So this plate where you have the like kind of reversed lights looks better. What is that? I'm not even going to try that one. Hi, phone. Fugazi de phone. Nope. Fugazi EQ phone. That's what I'm going with. Hi. So yeah, that's a weird spot. So I would fix that. And the other thing for me that I'm seeing is just some definition stuff around some of these parts. Like I would take some of this and try and like pop some of these out a little more, make this a little more defined. Make these a little more defined. There's some stuff maybe on his neck or whatever. And then I like the rust. I think you didn't go do it enough. So you kind of half-assed it, to be honest. So if you're going to add rust, give it some rust. Okay? Don't be afraid to do it. So all these little rivets and things should have rusty bits around them. All right. I mean, this thing is rusted up good. Where's the rust on the chainmail? These links should have rust in them, so you gotta come back and use like an orange wash or something and add some rust around the chainmail. And this dark line is a little thick. Try and tighten this up. But yeah, man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Overall, I quite like it. Just think it needs a bit more. Just needs a bit more. I think even adding some like subtle texture could be interesting. I like how they do this, but like you could do some freehand or something. Here, let me do it on another layer. Like if he's really, like he didn't paint his nipple and I don't know, I imagine them like having, where's the varicose veins and nastiness, you know? Like dead flesh. Go look at the fat dude from Seven. You guys remember that movie? That's what I imagine this guy's skin should look like. Go look at Gluttony. So you can do stuff like that, and then it's like you take and wash or glaze the skin tone back over it a little bit. You can create some like underlying texture to the skin that's like, it looks like it's under the skin, you know? Like his skin is kind of milky and translucent or something. Cool. So yeah. More on the armor. Like push it more. More rust, just more detail. And then correct this base. In fact, this base isn't, I would reconsider the base. Maybe float some ideas in the feedback requests channel. Because right now the base is kind of, it looks like a Blood Bowl base without the white line painted on it. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out today.